Hello and welcome to another video in the HIPAA series. And today we're going to be talking about Accountable HQ and in particular risk assessment and compliance auditing platforms. Now, there are a lot of different tools you can use. One of the things that we want to point out is that even though we've done a lot of work with HIPAA, GDPR, CCPA, etc., we are not certifying your company, and we're not wanting this to come across as legal advice or other advice that you would take as a kind of HIPAA recommendation. Every scenario is specific and unique, and we recommend working with an expert on this. Now, with that said, we do have a lot of resources here that we're going to be continuing to dive into. And today, really the biggest thing that we want to point out is that whether you work with a tool like Accountable HQ or you work with another platform, it really makes sense to essentially select a tool, set up a schedule to run your risk assessments and your compliance audits, both internally and with any kind of external facing software, and then assign specific team members. Of course, you're going to have a data privacy officer who needs to be applying all of the standards and best practices for HIPAA within your organization. There may be additional team members who are possibly focusing on different aspects of this process of validating what the data privacy officer is digging into, what your Accountable HQ or other compliance platform is looking for you to dive into, and then review and remediate. And one of the biggest challenges with HIPAA is actually being in compliance, and that means auditing consistently and doing a proper deep dive on any topics, but then also remediating. So you need to have the resources and the plan for those resources to be in place so that you can remediate any issues that might occur. Now, just as an example, and really as a great example, Accountable HQ is an excellent platform that delivers a very solid offering for a really an auditing and a almost like an insurance type of offering and certification, if you will, from Accountable HQ. So what they do is they offer this platform that's a risk assessment and compliance management platform for HIPAA, as well as other options. So you can see, if you go to their site, it's accountablehq.com, and they're really managing this entire kind of spectrum of different resources that are going to need to be in line to deliver a HIPAA compliant solution. So as you can see, this includes not just your software, not just your vendors, but it includes a lot of the kind of members of your team internally. It's going to include all of your internal teams, your processes, and really a lot more. So what we recommend is that you work with a software platform that is essentially going to provide reminders, and it's going to proactively help your team, because your team is probably like any client that we've worked with in the past. They're probably really busy, and they're probably working to operate the business and deliver great service and support for customers and for patients. So they're really going to need something that's going to kind of press them and be proactive about ensuring that you are compliant. Now, this is just kind of an overview of their site. If you kind of dive into some of their key offering areas, one of the things that I want to point out, first of all, is they do have a compliance protection. So if you go through their process and if you follow the steps that they recommend that you complete, then you're going to, within the portal that you'll have, you'll receive a HIPAA compliance seal, which you can display. And just note that this is Accountable HQ's HIPAA compliance seal. This isn't the government saying that you're HIPAA compliant. But you can display this, and you can also receive compliance protection. And of course, like any company, they're going to have caveats, but this is a really nice insurance policy, if you will. It's not literally insurance, but it's a nice kind of concept to be able to protect your organization against anything glaring. And what this means to me is that they really have some skin in the game. So they take it very seriously, and they're really going to help make sure that anything they can do, that they will. Breach reporting as well. This is a really helpful capability because one of the biggest challenges with HIPAA is actually complying with some of the nuances of HIPAA and understanding those nuances. So this platform, just like some of the other platforms that are available, which we will provide more detail on other platforms as well, they're really going to give you the ability to kind of rest easy at night. Fundamentally, when you know that you can come in, deal with any issues with, depending on your plan level, you can actually have a concierge type of interaction with the Accountable HQ team. Any kind of issues, talk with someone, go through this self-service portal and have a step-by-step process for dealing with, if there is an issue, reporting it properly in this system. And again, this just kind of shows kind of some of their capabilities going through their platform. They do help you to manage your data inventory. So this is going to include your different infrastructure, your different devices, and be able to accurately inventory this. If you took a look at some of the other videos that we've created, most compliance management and risk assessment tools do this. So you're going to not only be proactively working within your organization, but you're also going to be working to make sure that your inventory is kept up to date and any kind of assessment of the inventory itself is accurate. Almost always when there's a digital kind of breach, it's going to be associated to some form of infrastructure or some form of data that's physically available either on the web or on an internal network, for example. So this is going to be a really important aspect of your HIPAA compliance. And so we encourage you to really spend the time to get into the weeds with this. Again, it's just really helpful having a team that actually focuses on this and gives you a really friendly interface to work with. They also have an employee portal, and I have to say this is probably one of the most important aspects that you can take away from this video that we're making today, is that one of the biggest challenges with HIPAA is educating the team internally. A lot of team members internally are going to be intimidated by HIPAA. They're not going to understand it, and so having a simple portal where they can go in, get into the details, and kind of feel comfortable about the fact that it's comprised of a few kind of core principles. You have the security and the privacy rules, and then there are kind of key tenets within those. And being able to comply with it is really based on a few basic behaviors that the organization as a whole needs to adopt. And this is really powerful so that folks within your organization aren't feeling like they have to walk around on eggshells. Yes, we want to be very careful and we want to be proactive and we want to be diligent. But we also shouldn't be stressed all the time from lack of information. And then without going into a ton of detail, they also have a lot of other features that make this very turnkey so that you can have your policy and just some of your overall privacy rules met pretty turnkey. Now, of course, if you have a legal team and you have a management team that wants to customize this, you can. But they do provide a very turnkey kind of baseline set of privacy and just overall privacy rule compliance capabilities. They also, generally speaking, are going to kind of walk you through this process of making sure that internally and externally, your team is compliant with HIPAA. So they also have a risk assessment process, which is very detailed. And this is kind of what I was talking about a little earlier in the video, where we were talking about all of the inventory. Well, they're going to go through and really help you and your team to kind of diagnose what the risk is for any of that inventory, in particular, the data side of things. So fundamentally, what we're looking at here is a group of vendors who really need to complete certain steps. And this is potentially one of the biggest liabilities that a client's going to have with regards to their BAA process and with making sure that they are HIPAA compliant is third parties who are acting on their behalf. So at the end of the day, having a partner like Accountable HQ can help your team to identify risks and be able to manage your compliance. They certainly can't guarantee that your team is going to adhere to this or that your infrastructure or your vendors, etc., will adhere. And so it's also absolutely important that you either work with a partner or internally identify and assign and allocate resources to make sure that your team can actually complete remediation and be in a position to deliver and execute on some of the steps necessary in order to stay compliant. So we certainly hope that this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to write in the comments or let us know, get in touch with us. we encourage you to take a look at the training that we have. We have a really kind of paced training that you can go through for HIPAA. We also have webinars that you can complete. And then you're also welcome to just, again, reach out to us, let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you in the next video.